This week on Instant Experts, joy for Catholics worldwide as Rome brings back Roman numerals.
I am excited.
You mean 5?
No, why? What are you talking about?
Shock in the Aussie election with Stephen Bradbury now Prime Minister.
Who knew you could get 65% of the seats with 35% of the vote?
And President Trump learns Spanish one phrase at a time.
Tengo un mal presentimiento sobre esto.
And so you should, amigo. Welcome to Instant Experts, White Smoke Edition. It's all the latest news explained by idiots, here to keep you sane in a crazy world. Of course, we say white smoke because the College of Cardinals has elected a new pope.
It's not because we've taken up meth or anything.
No, we've been on that for a while, as you can probably tell.
Indeed, yeah.
No change at the helm of Instant Experts, though.
No, it's still brown smoke here exclusively.
So you're stuck with me, Henry Lee, and of course my dear friend, The Honk, who as of today is a year older and yet strangely none the wiser. Honky, welcome and happy birthday.
Henry, a pleasure to be here. You know, I'm sad to say I'm 53, but I don't feel a day over 95.
What,
I really don't.
What do you mean?
Look, I voted Labor on the weekend here in Australia. But, you know,
when you were 52.
Yeah, when I was 52. I look back now, you know, though I look at who I was then, and I just don't recognise that little boy. He was a kid. He was a boy. He wasn't a man. He hadn't loved or been loved. He hadn't known heartache. You know, he just didn't know anything.
Seen the world.
Hadn't seen the world.
To be fair to you, Honk, quite a few people voted Labor on the weekend.
Yeah, but now I'm 53. It's funny, I did vote Labor, but now that I'm 53, I really like that Peter Dutton fellow. He seems like a fine, lovely young man, don't you think?
I'm not sure that view was very widely shared.
I'll tell you what else I don't like now that I'm 53. I don't like those pronouns. Yes. I don't believe in them, and I won't speak them. I won't do it.
Right.
And I also find, just now that I'm 53, I find women very loud in restaurants, don't you think?
Well, at least they're quiet in the little party. They don't have any.
Oh, that's true. And the music today, don't get me started. I tell you, now that I'm 53, it's not music. It's just a beat.
It's noise, really, isn't it?
It's just noise. Look. Call me off that. Give me Frank Sinatra, Mel Torme. Yeah. You know, I'll tell you who is good, and I saw him recently live, is that Andre Rieu. Yeah. He's good. A night in Vienna, that show, I tell you, I felt like I was there.
I nearly got your tickets.
Yeah. Have you ever been on a cruise? You haven't lived. I'm looking forward to taking the old duck Mrs. Honk down the Rhine.
So to speak. Honky, you might be old, but at least you're not talking about your health. The day we do that on this podcast is the day we're officially older coots.
So you don't want to know my cholesterol score?
No.
What about my step count?
No.
What about my pancreas?
Honky, my view is life is a race between causes of death.
Oh, yeah?
So the key is to line them all up so you die of everything at the same time.
Very wise.
Yeah, so that way you leave nothing on the table. Mm-hmm. So, you know, why have a functioning liver when your brain is rooted? Or the other way around. You know, why have a functioning brain when your liver is rooted?
It seems to be you're well on your way. However you slice it, you're well on your way.
That's fair. Anyway, what a week. The show's about crooks, fuckwits and morons. And as always, they have not let us down for material. What caught your eye this week?
Look, so many things. I mean, obviously, you know, the big stories this week involve elections, both papal and the federal election in Australia. But we have to start maybe just with a little, it's not a very Trumpy episode, but we've got to start with a little quick vignette about Trump.
It's like an Instant Experts Welcome to Country.
It's exactly what it is.
Do a Trump joke up front.
Indeed. So this week, Trump had a corker. He visited the border, the United States border between Texas and Mexico,
right,
with the governor, Greg Abbott, governor of Texas. Mm-hmm. And he's standing, and there are Mexican.
That's on the Rio Grande, isn't it?
Rio Grande. There are Mexican people in the river, and there's also people across the in Mexico staring back, right? And Trump sort of waves at them and then he makes a fist at them, and someone calls back, "Hey, Trump, chinga tu madre." And Trump turns to the reporter and he goes, "Hey, they like Trump," and he waves back.
Tell me, what does it mean?
It means, in Spanish, it means "go fuck your mother." The guys.
Now, Trump's lived in the US all his life.
All his life.
There's 40 or 50 million people in the US who speak Spanish.
Yeah, it's like 15% of the population.
Yeah, it sounds about right. And Trump probably has a Hispanic following. There's certainly plenty of
huge.
Votes
they all
there.
Voted for him last election, yeah.
So he doesn't know any Spanish at all, evidently, because usually when you learn a foreign language, you learn the swear words first. Right?
Well, even if you don't know, even if you don't know French, you know the meld and a few, swear words. Yeah. But not Trump.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, él es un idiota.
Oh, thank you very much. That's lovely. It's lovely of you to say so, especially on my birthday. Thank you.
Now, Honky, as you know, it's traditional on the Instant Experts to do shout-outs to our listeners all over the world. We've got loyal listeners all over Australia, of course, so please keep spreading the word. We've got Julian in Sydney who sends us stories now most weeks.
Yes, indeed. Hello.
Di from Bondi. put the die in Bondi, who's become a fan and turned others onto the show.
Not to be confused, of course, with the US Attorney General Pam from Bondi, who we always remind you is a blithering idiot. Di's not, Pam from Bondi is.
No, and we've got lots of regulars from around the globe. So in the US, Brooklyn in New York, Wyndham, Connecticut, Quincy in Massachusetts, which is just at the southern end of Boston Harbour.
Right.
Home, of course, of the Boston Tea Party in 1775.
As I recall, wasn't that Americans complaining about tariffs on tea, wasn't it?
Yes, well, thank goodness times have changed.
Yeah, now they love them. They love tariffs.
Around the world, Paris and Puy-de-Dôme in France,
yes.
Haifa and Tel Aviv in Israel, Nairobi, Kenya, and Valletta in Malta, all still with us.
Hello,
thank you.
Thanks for listening.
And new locations, a place called Corte Madera, keeping the Spanish theme. It's in Marin County, just over the Golden Gate Bridge from San Francisco, and just a short drive from Skywalker Ranch.
Speaking of that, did you see all the May the 4th stuff this week? You know, the May the 4th be with you?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so they had, some people had up online, had Trump and Pete Hegseth, the US Secretary of Defense, in AI images as Luke Skywalker.
Hegseth does bear a striking resemblance to that guy Hayden Christensen. Remember him? He was the dud Skywalker.
Oh yeah, he was truly terrible. What was he in those? He was episodes 1 to 3.
1 to 3. They made.
What were they called? What were they called again?
I think it was the Phantom Pile of Shit. I think Attack of the Cloned Piles of Shit.
Yeah, yep.
And Revenge of the Pile of Shit.
Yeah, they were all. Revenge of the Pile of Shit was probably the best of them, but still. Yeah.
Anyway, Hayden Christensen, to my knowledge, has never been seen again, and rightly so.
He was so bad, it's very rightly so. In fact, he was so bad at the time. Remember, he was dubbed, one of my favourite things, critics dubbed him Mannequin Skywalker. Thought it was great.
Jakarta, Indonesia, just a few islands west of the military base the Russians are trying to access in Papua.
Hello. That's for
and Essens, or Essens probably, in Lower Saxony, which it turns out is up the top of Germany, right up on the northwest coast, not far from the Danish border.
Oh, Danish border. It reminds me to say hello to our listener, Soren Kierkegaard.
That's right, a good friend of the show. We covered him in episode 3 way back when.
And his thriller, the riveting page-turner, upbuilding discourse of various spirits.
How are you going with that one, Honky?
I'm going pretty well. I'm 8,000 pages in, still waiting for the main character to arrive.
Hello, Hartvig? Is that you?
There's no Hartvig yet. There is no Hartvig.
And Wandsworth in southwest London, just northeast of Wimbledon.
Isn't there a prison at Wandsworth?
There is a prison there, yeah. It's the one Ronald Biggs escaped from. You remember the great train robber?
Oh, yeah.
And then went to Brazil and lived most of his life there before coming back to the UK right at the end. And there's also, there's Wandsworth prison. There's also Wormwood Scrubs, which is a little bit further north, not too far away.
That's the prison that had two of England's most notorious crooks. It had Ian Brady, the Moors murderer.
Yes, remember him.
And Keith Richards, the Rolling Stones.
I think they had the IRA on drums as well. I think that's where the IRA used to stay when they were in London.
Yes, although from memory, they were quite challenging guests, the IRA at Scrubs, at Wormwood Scrubs. They didn't seem to like the accommodation, and they seemed to complain a lot about the service, I think.
Yeah, I think the food was the main issue, Honky. Sometimes they wouldn't eat it for weeks at a time.
Yeah, we're doing hunger strikes jokes. It's very, very 80s. Very 80s.
It's a very 80s show, Honky. You are 53 after all.
Excuse me, Your Majesty. Not all of us are young punks like you at the age of 52.
Anyway, Wandsworth, UK, is the home of a very intelligent and attractive listener.
/ cellmate. Who will be listening to the show, we assume, for the next 15 to 20 years. Less if they name names, assume.
Well, thanks, everybody, for joining us each week. Now, we also normally start with apologies. We should probably apologise for how long it is taking us to get to the first big story. Elections, you mentioned it, Honky. 2 big ones this week. First up, let's talk action in the Vatican. Now, Honky, did you see the movie Conclave?
I did. I thought it was really good, actually.
Yeah, so did I. And, of course, that makes us instant experts on all things papal election.
Well, I'm really an expert because I'm married to a Catholic.
Right, of course, Mrs. Honk.
Yes.
A true saint.
Yes.
Our Lady of Putting Up With You.
Yes.
Who I think is also a distant relation of May Musk.
That is not true. That's outrageous. I can't believe that you would say that just that she sounds anything like the person who appeared on this show and claimed to be May Musk. I can't believe.
Where did she pock her cock?
I don't know where she pocked the cock.
Anyway, what's happening Pope-wise? Take me down to Vatican City, where the grass is green and the girls are pretty.
Well, there would be if there were grass and if girls were allowed.
Anyway, we have a new Pope, Leo the 14th. That is Leo XIV, who is the first American Pope. I thought they'd go for Ray Fiennes.
Well, see, when I heard it was Leo the 14th, I assumed it was Leo DiCaprio.
Right.
I assumed that if he got him, he'd be the first pope who was actually into young girls, not young boys, right?
Right.
And I think he chose, I imagine he would have chosen the XIV because that's like his favourite age, isn't it?
Now, of course, the real pope is actually a guy called Robert Provost. He's actually only been a cardinal since 2023, I think, so he's pretty new. And in fact, he's so new, and this is true, his brother has just revealed in a video on TikTok that he, the new pope, just watched Conclave last week to work out how the process works.
Is that seriously true?
Yeah, and now he's the actual pope. Yeah,
wow.
He's an interesting guy, actually, too. He's the real deal. He's the former head of the Order of St. Augustine, which is devoted to helping the poor.
Yes.
He served a long time in Peru as a minister and a bishop over there, actually helping the poor.
He's also we looked him up, he's the first pope with black African descent, sort of Creole, I think.
Yes.
Fluent speaker of several languages, including English, Italian, and of course, having spent 20 years in Peru, he's fluent in Spanish.
Yes, he wouldn't have fallen from that cockamamie roost at the Mexican border.
He would not.
So he seems like a pretty good hire, but there was plenty of disappointment as well.
Yeah.
Most disappointed of all was probably President Trump himself, who, of course, caused a stir by publishing an AI image of himself as Pope right after the last one died.
Did you see that he then claimed he didn't know how it got online?
Yeah.
Although he posted it from his account.
From his account.
Yeah.
And he was bragging, classic Trump egomaniac, he was bragging this morning that the Vatican had already called him.
Yeah, they called him to tell him he didn't get the job.
What do you reckon was the feedback?
Well, look, it's interesting. We looked into this. Your sources are impeccable as always. And the Vatican told us they felt that Trump's history of sexual misconduct and personal enrichment in office would have been perfect in another era, but they have to go in a different direction now.
Right. Well, people are actually qualified.
Yeah, but they're going to keep him in mind for future opportunities.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. So the usual corporate speak, except in Latin.
Yeah, although to be fair, the new Pope Leo was more direct.
Yes, what did he say?
Chinga tu madre.
Well, he does speak Spanish, as we said.
Yeah.
Pope Leo the 14th, Honk, is also the first native English speaker since Adrian IV, way back in 1100. To be fair, he stuck around for 59 years till 1159.
Oh, yes. Actually, I think that's how long he lived. I'm not sure he actually was Pope that long. I think he might have only been Pope for less than that, but we'll look into that.
Okay, but he was the last Pope who spoke English as a first language,
yes.
and the last Pope from England.
Yeah, but was he the last of the Adrians? I know we're up to 14 Leos. Is there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I like papal names. There's been 23 Johns.
Yes.
26 Benedicts, and 13 Innocents.
Well, more accurately, not guilties. It's the Vatican.
There's also been 8 guys called Urban.
Yes.
As in Keith Urban.
Yep. Well, 9. 9 if you count Keith Urban.
9 called Boniface.
Yep.
And 5 called Sixtus.
5 Sixtuses. What torture for anybody with OCD.
Yeah, the first person I thought about was Kenny Callender.
Oh, yeah?
The 12th man.
Oh, yeah.
This is Pope Sixtus, the 66th.
Yeah. You know your popes. So Adrian IV was the last of the Adrians who were popes. And I've often wondered, what do you have to do to end the line of a name? Like, there wasn't a King Charles for 300 years right after Cromwell executed the first one, Charles I, and then his son Charles II rooted too many chicks during the Restoration, right?
Yeah, that's right. So they steered clear for 3 centuries. And
yeah.
I'd say it'll be a while till England gets another Edward after he ran off with that American chick, Wallace Simpson.
Yeah, I wouldn't put any money on there being a new Prince Andrew for a while.
No, there actually were 2 more Adrians, but no more popes from England.
Why's that, do you reckon? Do you know why?
Well, Henry VIII might have had something to do with it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Church of England, divorce, etc.
Yeah. What I actually heard was something different. I heard that the problem was that he was English. And they couldn't stand it. He was English Pope. As soon as he arrived, he complained the whole time he was Pope.
Right.
The weather was beautiful at the Vatican, but the minute he arrived, it started raining non-stop for the whole 5 years of his papacy.
Well, the 59 years of his papacy.
59 years, yeah.
What about, did he like the food? Or was he...
Well, he came in, the food was delicious.
IRA guys.
Delicious Italian food when he arrived.
Yeah.
He got rid of it, brought in just meat and 2 veg. As they always say about English cuisine, cooked to perfection and then for another 25 minutes.
Brought in warm beer, I presume.
Yeah, got rid of the wine, brought in warm beer.
Yeah. I heard I heard there was a lot of controversy about his preferences in soccer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I heard he kept asking the Vatican soccer team to sort of just go down route 1.
Oh, right.
Kick to the goalkeeper and kick out from the goalkeeper and hope for a header instead of playing out from the back. And the Dutch, Italians and Brazilian Cardinals hated that.
I hated that, yeah. And, I mean, it wasn't bad enough that he was blessing everybody with lager and crisps instead of wine and wafers. The worst bit, he was English, right? The work ethic sucked. So he unionised the Cardinals, right?
Yeah.
And then he was always on strike. Every time you tried to see him, he was on strike. And to get him back to work, the Vatican management had to agree to give him Sundays off and also Easter and Christmas.
I think the Sundays off part might have been mentioned in the Ten Commandments.
Oh, yeah. But not if you're the Pope.
That's true. Work day for him.
Yeah.
What about summer sports? We talked about the soccer.
Well, the Cardinals used to have a wonderful time before Adrian, the whinging English Pope, turned up. They used to play bocce, like the Italian version of bowls.
Yeah.
20 minutes a day. They'd pray in the morning. They'd play bocce, have a glass of wine, have a nap, get back up, do some prayers. Yeah. He replaced it with a new game. Everyone's got to stand in the sun for 5 days straight in a game that frequently has no result. So it didn't go well for Adrian.
All right, so no more Adrians. Anyway, the new Pope, Leo's a reformer. It seems like he's a good guy, as we said. So can we expect him to change a lot about the papacy? Yeah,
I mean, you're asking, is he going to stop covering up sexual abuse of children in the Catholic Church?
Yeah, well, I mean, the hospitals and schools are obviously good parts of the Catholic Church, but they've really let themselves down with the child molestation stuff. Yeah,
you're asking, will he stop covering up sex abuse of children? Look, you've got to distinguish between your reformers and your radicals and your terrorists. I mean, the guy's a reformer, but you can't change everything at once. You can't expect him to stop covering up the sex abuse of kids straight away. Give him a minute.
Oh, well, we wish him well.
Yeah.
Now, we normally do a big segment on American carnage. In fact, the show has sort of accidentally morphed into a sort of a live pod on Trump almost, but we thought it would give us all a bit of a break this week. Plus, we are keen to get to the Australian election, so we'll just do some quick shots instead.
Well, I think we decided to go with the top three. We got Trump's tariffs on movies,
right?
Trump's plan to reopen Alcatraz prison,
right?
And Trump's failure to agree publicly that his job is to uphold the Constitution.
Okay, well, they're three pretty good ones. Let's start with the movie tariff idea. Talk us through this one.
Yeah, Trump's had this sort of war on Hollywood, and one of the person he sort of appointed to be his unofficial ambassador to Hollywood.
These are true stories.
True stories.
Again, we exaggerate sometimes. But
this is true. The person he appointed to be his ambassador on Hollywood is the actor Jon Voight. Angelina
Jolie's dad, right?
Yeah, they're famously estranged. But Jon Voight's not a bum. I mean, Jon Voight, famous actor, was in Midnight Cowboy, won the Oscar. Actually won the Oscar for a very left-wing anti-Vietnam War film, I think, called Coming Home. But he's famously become, very conservative. He went out, though, and did a good job. It looks like he consulted with the industry and he came up with a concrete plan, in 2 pages, to have a federal tax sort of US incentive plan and better treaties. To sort of help, bring production back to the United States for sort of the cost issues.
Right.
Anyway, he brought this very coherent plan to Trump, and Trump's response was to tear it up, completely ignore Jon Voight, and introduce 100% tariff on films made overseas.
Right.
Whatever the fuck that means.
Right. I read it.
Did you read the thing
I
he wrote?
did read a tweet about it, which had a number of ludicrous statements in the usual way. I'll just grab some bits of it. It says, the movie industry, this is from Trump, the movie industry in America is, in big letters, dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers away from the United States, and many other areas, Hollywood and many other areas, are being devastated. And get this part, this is a concerted effort by other nations and therefore a national security threat.
Fuck me dead.
This is other countries making movies is a conspiracy against the US and a national security threat. It is, and this is coming from Trump, this bit's good. In addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda. Can you believe it?
From Trump, yes, I can. Yeah.
Therefore, I'm authorising blah, 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 the Department of Commerce to immediately begin the process for instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands.
Sorry, is it 1427 foreign lands? Is he Ferdinand Magellan? What the fuck are foreign lands?
It's always a concern, Honky, when Jon Voight is the voice of reason. What is he thinking, man?
I've got a theory, which is, in fact, his concern is that he really wants to secret plan to make American porn great again. That's Trump's favourite thing. Specifically, my thinking is he wants to bring back his former paramour to make more porn in America, Stormy Daniels. He wants to bring her back. He's concerned he's making... My theory is, I think he's looked into it. I think he's concerned she's making too many movies overseas with titles that Trump doesn't understand.
This last week?
No, these are titles Trump does not understand.
Right. Some of a foreign oeuvre.
Yeah, like Le Anal. Le Gangbang, and obviously the Mexican classic Chinga tu Madre.
Honky, most of our listeners liked your stormy movie titles segment last week, but some of them, found it a little bit over the top. So we'll keep moving. If that's
Even what about Bukkake Quattro Dici, Più Bukkake?
All right, Honky, what else have you got?
Well, as I said, Trump also announced this week he wants to reopen Alcatraz, the world-renowned tourist attraction, as an actual working prison.
Right, what's wrong with that?
Well, it's San Francisco's biggest tourist attraction.
Yeah, I think Robben Island is the Alcatraz of South Africa.
Oh, yeah, sorry, forgive me, yes. Hasn't it been in prison for, 60-odd years?
Yes, 1962 maybe.
And they shut it down for a good reason, right?
Yeah, it was too expensive, violently expensive, and it makes tens of millions a year as a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
Now they want to make it into a very expensive
So
prison.
it's obviously not going to happen, but I was sad because I was looking forward to some stuff.
Yeah. What were you excited
Well, like we
about?
talked about,
Escape from Alcatraz.
Yeah, like we talked about, Diego, the Venezuelan gang parrot, the American parrot who was sent to El Salvador.
Yes.
I was hoping he was going to get moved back from El Salvador, go to Alcatraz, then he was going to fall in love with, and then have like a prison romance and then escape together with the Birdman of Alcatraz.
Well, that would be a very good American-made movie, albeit with overseas talent. And last quick shot, Honky. You mentioned Trump on the Constitution. To talk us through that one.
He did an interview on Meet the Press during the week in the United States, which had multiple highlights.
Yes, I did see bits of it. It was pretty extraordinary.
Well, there were lowlights, depending on if you think it's important to have a president who knows what the fuck's going on.
Yes.
But this one about him saying, he was asked the question, that he said, it was put to him that it had been said the president's job is to ensure that all people in the United States, all American citizens, have a right to due process under the Constitution. Did he agree with that?
Yeah, is that the 14th Amendment or the 5th Amendment or both?
Due process, I think, is the 14th Amendment.
14th, yeah.
And he gave an answer which just has to be heard to be believed. I think we should just play the audio.
All right.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the Supreme Court said.
Well, that was something.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Geez, that's like question 1 on the exam.
Fucking hell.
That's the easy one before you get into the hard ones. Anyway.
Good Lord. The Aussie election.
Yes. Now, Honky, we did, in fact, I should have apologised for this. I flagged this as the most boring campaign ever, and it basically was. But the election itself turned out to be extremely entertaining.
Incredibly entertaining.
Yeah, very surprising as well. So to start with the result, we said at the top of the show, he only got 35% of the primary vote, but Anthony Albanese, a.k.a. Albo, absolutely romped home. Talk us through it.
Yeah, so he's our Prime Minister from sort of the centre-left Labor Party, if you're not listening to this in Australia. As you said, absolutely historic result for Labor, disaster for the Conservative Party, which is the Liberal Party in this country. They actually only had a little difference.
The Conservatives are called the Liberals.
Called the Liberals.
Yeah.
Only a relatively small difference in their respective primary votes. But the votes against the Liberal Party, swing away from the Liberal Party, was kind of uniform all across the country.
Right.
Like in our system, the lower government's made out of the majority of those who have the majority in the lower house, our House of Reps. Labor could be sitting on as many as 93 or 94 of 150 seats.
Right.
Liberals are probably going to end up with sort of a number sort of in the low 40s. Like it's the best result ever for a first-term government in Australia in winning a second term.
Right.
He's also, the other thing we talked about, he's the first Prime Minister in Australia to win 2 elections in a row since John Howard, the Conservative Prime Minister in 2004, so 21 years ago.
And he was running against Mark Latham, who spent most of the campaign drinking the blood of small children.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, basically in Australia, we get sick of our political leaders really quickly.
We
have
do.
Elections every 3 years, so there's plenty of chance to turn them over. So getting through a full term and getting re-elected with a increased majority is almost unheard of.
But I mean, specifically, the main thing the Prime Ministers do in this country is they mostly get sick of each other before the voters get a chance to get sick of them.
Yes, that's true.
So anyway, it brings back to Albo, who has managed to hang on to his leadership through his first term and actually hang on to the Prime Ministership, right?
Yeah, well, and in fact expand his advantage. It's the worst result for the Liberals since I think the party was formed.
Well, as you said, I mean, it doesn't have that. I mean, Labor, although they've been a pretty terrible government, I think, in their first term, they did run a very good campaign. On the other hand, the Liberal Party, led by this guy, Peter Dutton, ran truly one of the worst non-campaigns ever. He mostly sort of campaigned on sort of what you would call sort of culture war issues people just don't give a fuck about, especially when sort of things are going tough. And the fact things are going tough, that's exactly what he should have been campaigning on, like a sensible plan to make housing more affordable and provide relief from escalating sort of cost of living. And instead, when he was up against it at the end of the campaign, he just sort of played the race card and he was whinging about welcome to country ceremonies. And,
it's the economy is stupid, huh?
Yeah, totally.
Well, at least you're happy about the result.
I'm only moderately happy. And Labor was not a great first-term government.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I thought they were both extremely uninspiring. They're dumb campaigns that missed all the big issues. So I thought it was basically the midgets hijack.
What should they have done? What would you like to see?
Well, same as you. I'd like to talk about the real issues facing Australia. We don't like to get serious on this podcast,
but here we go.
Falling per capita GDP, stalling productivity, a strategy for population. How quickly do we want to grow? What's our strategy to keep housing affordable with a growing population? How do we reduce energy costs? What are we doing about defence with America on tilt and the Timu fleet sailing around our shores? Basically all the stuff we're paying the federal government to think about, I would like them to think about.
And that, by the way, is exactly what Dutton could totally logically have said that Albo had failed to do for 3 years.
Yeah, that's right.
And it would have been true. It would have been a true statement.
I mean, Albo's government was like an Ingmar Bergman film. Been 3 years and the audience is still waiting for something to happen.
He was the Ibsen play of first term government.
Yeah, or Kierkegaard again.
Yeah.
Hartvig, is that you?
What did you do on election night?
So I spent the evening watching the West Tigers.
Our favourite shithouse football team.
Yeah, in the Salisbury Hotel. And it was great, actually. It was a great night. I ended up drinking beers with a couple of 23-year-old Dragons fans.
Another NRL team, yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking about the election and one of them openly admitted he drew a giant penis on his ballot cards.
Well, at least it was a big one.
Yeah, well, he was an aspirational voter.
Yeah. Your mother's happy though. Isn't your mother happy?
Yes, my mother is very happy. Yes,
motherly.
My mother is a rusted-on Labor voter. Gough Whitlam, who was Prime Minister in the 70s.
Yeah.
Won the year she came to Australia, which is 1972, the year I was born, and is basically her political hero.
Yes.
So we're having dinner the night before the election. This is a true story. And
yeah.
She literally said to me, I'm basically a socialist while holding a glass of champagne.
Glass of French champagne.
It was too good. Literally a champagne socialist.
Well, she did win. I mean, she won, right? I mean, she just sell her house that she bought for about 47 cents in 1987? Didn't she just sell it for about $8.3 billion?
That's true. She was drinking my inheritance with great delight.
Look, I'm a bit more optimistic than you about sort of the Australian political system. I thought some really good people actually got elected.
Right. Who was your pick?
Well, I really like there's an independent woman of Vietnamese background called Dai Le in the seat in Western Sydney called Fowler, which is in and around, Cabramatta, Sydney's sort of southwest,
It's home of Australia's biggest Vietnamese community.
Yeah, and she's a smart woman, really good MP, battle-tested. She was rejected by the Liberal Party before the last election, then she came back and beat them anyway.
Right.
Beat Labor at the election as an independent.
Right. Who was the Labor candidate?
A woman called Tu Le.
Right, so Dai Le beat Tu Le.
Yeah. That's right. So Dai Le beat Tu Le. But look, to be honest, even in Fowler, look, not to be too cynical, but if I had one criticism, it just wasn't enough of a contest.
Yeah.
I just don't think they ran nearly enough people with the surname Lee. I mean, you got Dai Le, Tu Le.
Yeah, who would you like to have seen?
There were plenty of others.
Dare I ask?
There were plenty of other good candidates who they were going to put their name forward. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
You had Slow Lee from the Senior Citizens Party.
Yes.
Ho Lee.
Yeah, is there Catholic Alliance?
No, it's from the Hookers Party. Tommy Lee from the Shithouse Drummers Party.
I thought he was in the Home Video Party. I think Pamela Anderson was deputy leader, wasn't she?
Yeah, like most deputies, she did seem to carry most of the load. What about Spike Lee? Spike Lee from the under-recognised Directors Party?
Yes.
Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee from the Into the Dragon Party.
Yeah.
Brett Lee.
Brett Lee, Binger. Yeah, after nicknamed Binger after Bingley, the appliance, cheap appliance store chain.
Famously cheap. In fact, Bing Lee also should have run.
Yeah.
Who's going to be able to bring the prices down better than Bing Lee?
I don't think Bing Lee's with us any longer.
No. And also, last candidate who should have run was Robert E. Lee.
Right.
I thought.
Who's he from the Vietnamese white supremacists? That'd be a niche faction.
It's pretty niche.
Yeah.
Although it's ironic because the North beat the South both in the US and the Vietnamese civil wars. And it didn't help, obviously, in his case, that he died in 1870. So the problem was you just didn't see him much during the campaign because he'd been dead for 155 years.
No, he's buried somewhere in Virginia, no doubt.
Yeah.
You're forgetting one, though, Honky.
Who else should have been on the ballot?
Come on, man. Henry Lee.
Henry Lee. Oh, Henry Lee.
Yeah, and I'm still bitter, I got to say.
Well, you should have put your hand out. If you want to make change, you've got to get in there.
All right, Honky. Time for sport. Big news in sport is the latest clash between India and Pakistan. So it's in Kashmir. Pakistan won the toss and elected to bowl. Bagged a couple of early wickets. But the Indians are fighting back now. And of course, we're not talking about the cricket.
No, we're not.
We're talking about the fracas in Kashmir, the disputed territory in the India-Pakistan border.
Yes, indeed.
It's Hindus versus Muslims.
Yes.
It's a clash that goes back at least to partition in 1947, if not a few centuries before that.
The British really fucked it with the partition, right? If you can believe it, the British had a colonial interest, which, as they withdrew, they fucked up. Just talk us through that.
Well, they wanted to get out of Dodge, basically, ably encouraged by Gandhi.
Yes.
Because the natives were getting restless.
Yes.
And basically the Poms were broke after the war.
Yeah. So they had a great idea, right? What did they decide to do?
So they said, okay, we're going to split British India into 3 territories.
Yes.
Organised along religious lines. So West Pakistan, which is now just Pakistan.
Yeah.
East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh.
Yeah.
And Hindustan, which is, India.
Which is obviously named after the song by Oasis, obviously, Hindu Times. Right?
Hindustan Times, yeah. It didn't go well. There were about 1 million people killed and 15 million people displaced. So
but wasn't the border drawn up by some guy who had no fucking idea what he was doing?
Yeah, so they got a lawyer, a guy called Cyril Radcliffe.
By any chance, was he English?
And he not only had never drawn a border before, but he'd never actually been to India or Pakistan.
Well, that brilliantly qualifies him to work in a British colony, isn't it?
Yeah, so they said, Cyril, you've got 5 weeks to work out where to put the border.
Yeah.
And he had absolutely no idea. So he nearly put Lahore in India.
Yeah, oopsie-doopsie.
Amritsar is just up the road, which is where the Sikhs hang out. It's
quite a holy city to them.
Yeah, they don't get on well with the Hindus or the Muslims, or they didn't at that time, so they were fighting everybody.
Yeah.
And so it was chaos.
It's a shame that Adam Bad's no longer around from the Greens. Can't ask him who the baddies are in this one. Sure, he would have fascinating insights.
Indeed. So anyway, Kashmir's been in dispute since 1947. That's right on the border.
Yeah, but you talked about cricket, but actually this will actually potentially have actual implications for cricket, right?
It will, yes. The current coach of the Indian cricket team is a former India opening batsman called Gautam Gambhir, and he's also a former politician.
Right.
And he's called for all suspension of all play between India and Pakistan, even in World Cups, which would be a real shame because they're the biggest and most watched games in world cricket.
Yeah, we talked about the 12th man before, but this situation does sound like the legendary number 3 batsman from the wide world of sports.
Right, who's that?
Wasn't it a real motherfucker?
Yeah, it was. He came in from memory just after cut his arm in half and Sunil Gavaskar.
Right before a bit of a cocksucker.
12th man, a genius.
Yeah. And by the way, the real person to blame for all this is our good friend of the show.
Oh, BJ Vance.
Yeah,
yes.
The vice prostate of the United States. He is the kiss of death.
And we covered a few of these stories on the show. He held the college football national championship trophy and immediately broke it.
Yeah, he demanded to meet Pope Francis on Easter Sunday.
And killed him. He visited India and then war broke out immediately. Yeah. And the fourth leg of the chair, he endorsed his brother, or his half-brother at least, in the primary race to be the mayor of Cincinnati.
And did the brother get elected overwhelmingly?
The brother proceeded to get exactly 13% of the vote. And that's of people who turned out, which was only 10% of the people eligible.
So he actually got how much of the vote, actual possible vote?
Well, he got 13% of 10%, so he got 1.3% of the possible vote.
That's even less than Adam Band.
No, Adam Band got the most votes.
Oh, yeah. The bad people.
The bad people took the votes away.
Oh, you mean the globalists, Zionists, fascists, socialists, Tory commie rats took all his votes away.
Exactly. And then Vance's brother memorably said, having got 1.3% of the vote, the city is heading in the right direction.
We couldn't agree more for him or for Adam Band.
Indeed. Well, folks, that's all we have time for. We hope you enjoyed Instant Experts episode X1V.
Yes.
Pope Leo Tribute Edition.
Yeah.
Find us in all the usual locations, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, blah, blah, blah.
We've got some clips up now on those. You'll see them all. Some good
clips,
audio clips from the show.
We've got a website. We've got that you can leave us a voicemail, which we'd encourage you to do.
If you go to the website, you can record a voicemail, and if it's good, we're going to read it on the show. At minimum, we're going to thank you for it. On our show notes for this show, wherever you listen to the podcast, you'll see the link tree for our show. You can send us a text on the show notes.
We put jokes in the show notes too.
We put jokes in the show notes, that's true.
Yeah.
So
get on board.
Get on board. Thank you for listening to us. What have we got to take us out this week?
Well, we often go out with an audio clip, and this week we had a hard luck story, really, coming out of the Papal Conclave, Honky, and that was the plucky Filipino candidate a guy called Cardinal Louis Antonio Tagle,
Yeah.
former Archbishop of Manila.
Now, obviously, the Philippines did not invent karaoke, but they are famously lovers of a sing-along, of a karaoke sing-along.
Right.
In fact, little known fact, when Steve Perry, the original lead singer of the American band Journey, left the band, Journey replaced him with a Filipino guy who they found singing "Don't Stop Believing" on YouTube.
Right, and you played it for me earlier.
Yeah, he's got an incredible voice.
Incredible, yeah. So anyway, along similar lines,
Yeah,
Archbishop Tagle loves a sing-along.
yeah.
Right.
And I'm surprised he didn't get the papacy out with that that special skill.
Well, he'd flown through the early rounds of the conclave.
Yeah,
He passed the theology test.
yeah.
He got through the oral examination and absolutely nailed the swimsuit section.
Although at the Vatican, those two things may be the one section.
And it all went horribly wrong in the special talent section, Honky.
Yeah.
He
What went wrong? He was doing
Well, he
what songs
decided to do John Lennon's Imagine.
Yeah.
And it was all going well until the falsetto part, the do.
Yeah.
Exactly, when he basically in 12-man terms did a Rick Disneck.
Just remind us who Rick Disneck was.
He's the guy in the 12-man sketch, or in the opening credits of Wide World of Sports, who ran full pelt into the
pole vault,
into the vaulting horse.
Oh, the vaulting horse. Yeah.
And then Daryl Eastlake interviewed him on the 12th man.
What did he say? Can you do it? What did he say?
He said, "Oh, well, Rick, tell us what happened, mate. Did a sand shoe blow out, or did you just fuck up?" And then Disney goes, "No, Daryl, I just fucked up."
Yeah. So anyway, it's very sad because the singing Pope would have been great, but he didn't
so
quite
the Cardinal was going so well, and then
he fucked it. He just fucked it up. But this is not made up. The clip. This is really the would-be Pope singing John Lennon's Imagine.
Thanks for your company as always. We're
Thank
back
you.
next week because Stupid never sleeps.
Stupid never sleeps, and I hope you enjoyed this little ditty from the once and not future Pope.
Imagine all